I'm talking to myself. It's weird, I can't see it on here.
Now it says there's 2 people watching.
Me either. Bear with me. All right. Looks like we're good, right? You guys see all right? Can everybody hear us? Move this a little bit. Hey, Bob. We getting any audio? I'm assuming you guys can hear me. There's just a little bit of a delay. Yeah. Cool. How's everybody doing? Thanks, Bob. You sure you don't have like a show to watch or something? Just doodling a little bit until I'll probably wait until 5 after or so before we do the random see who gets to choose what I draw. Yeah, it's weird. I think like I have a little bit of delay with the chat from what I can see on the camera as well. So if something's out of whack, it might take me a minute to move things around. Adam, I'm not going to choose anybody. What I'm going to do is I'll roll a 20-sided die, and the first person who guesses the number correctly gets to pick. Just pick a number that's not between 1 and 20. You'll be all set. So I'm sorry if I know you in real life but don't know your YouTube handle. Yeah, I would randomly choose who picked the character that I actually am capable of drawing. If I really want to rig it. And I do, yeah, if I give him the other hair thing, that would totally be Quicksilver, wouldn't it? I was just warming up, really. Can't remember, does he have like a lightning thing like this as well? It has to be like angry. So I realize this pencil is pretty light, but it's really just going to be what I do the prelims with, and then usually what I do is I come back in and do more of the details, something like this. So hopefully you guys will be able to see that. Yeah, Adam, my phone is like 3 inches above my head, so it's easier. Stretch Armstrong. Yes, Bob, I agree. Yeah. What do we got here? So much quote unquote support, especially from family. Oddly, because of the way our family works, that comforts me. Okay. It's been 6 minutes or so. What the heck? Yeah, in case you can't tell, World on a String is my wife.
Hello.
She's gonna help me and try to make sure I don't miss something if somebody asks a question or whatnot. That'd be an NBA game. Don't make me start in on Bill Burr rant here. So let's do this thing. What I'm going to do, folks, is roll a 20-sided die, and you guys just guess what the roll is, and whoever guesses the right number first gets to tell me what character I'm drawing, or what I'm drawing. So here we go. Nice.
And Autumn has won. It's
Yes,
number 7.
that's right, Autumn.
Congratulations, Autumn.
So, what character should I draw tonight?
And don't let Micah tell you. You choose what you want.
Yeah. And then what we'll do is at the end, I'll roll again, and whoever guesses that number gets the sketch. Daisy.
I think the flower. Just the flower.
Draw a daisy? Oh, okay. Yeah, Adam, that's my wife, Alicia. You here?
Hi, Adam.
I can draw a witch. Sure. All right. Let's see here. Usually what I do is I draw a really loose, almost like a wire frame to just kind of get the posing down, the proportions, composition, that sort of thing. And then I lightly erase it, just so I can just see enough of it that I can go back in with my darker lead and do details that way. That way when I'm doing it like right at this stage of the game, I'm not super invested in it. It always sucks to spend a lot of time on something and then realize you did it wrong and you got to go back and redo everything. So. Something like this. For some reason I like the idea of her having a really sort of abnormally huge hat. There's some sort of anniversary town celebration going on this weekend. So if you guys hear bells in the background, it's because we live across the street from what used to be a church that they've restored into kind of like a Grange Hall / town museum. There's a bunch of people over there right now friggin' with the bell.
Micah asks, how long does a simple sketch take you at a comic convention or show?
I tell people I'm going to take about 15, 20 minutes tops. You guys are actually, in real time, going to see generally how long it takes me. This is pretty much how I do it. So if somebody came to my table and asked for a sketch, if it was something simple, I'd just start in on it. Sometimes people ask me for drawings of characters I've never heard of or whatnot, so I gotta Google it and get some research done first. Sometimes they ask, I'll say, oh, it's gonna be 15, 20 minutes or so, and they'll be like, oh, okay, I'll come back, and then sometimes they like to watch, which is kind of fun. I remember doing that as a kid, just being like, holy crap, watching Bob mostly. And then when he would carelessly leave things unattended, I would try to grab his sketches and quote unquote finish them, which for some reason he was not happy about. But if I'm at a convention, 15, 20 minutes, I tend to charge a couple bucks for like a headshot versus a little bit more for a full figure scenario, just because of the time involved. And I only really charge because the first couple of conventions I didn't charge, and people would just hang out at my table and be like, okay, can you now draw this X-Man, or can you now draw this other original character from my comic book idea, and I would just sit there the entire time drawing 8 sketches for this one person, and it gets a little awkward when people are coming up to your table wanting to engage and they can't because their time's being monopolized. But I mean, it's good for the ego, but.
And at some of the big conventions, like all the big names, how much do they charge for their sketches?
Oh, good gravy. They charge a lot. I've watched some YouTube videos of people going to like MegaCon and stuff and asking, high profile comic artists, and some of them will charge anywhere from 150 to 500 bucks for a sketch.
And how long do they spend on those sketches?
They spend a longer time. In fact, some of them will basically say, I got to get your info because I'm not going to get this done by the end of the con. I'll have to mail it to you. And then a lot of times I'll see people posting on Facebook like, oh, I got to finish up these con sketches. after they're home.
What's the biggest con you've ever been to?
The biggest con I've ever been to is back in the 90s and early 2000s, there was a magazine called Wizard Magazine that was where you get all your comic news, and it had price guides for comics and that sort of thing. And they had their own conventions, so you would go to like Wizard World Chicago or whatnot. And the biggest con I went to, I think, was Wizard World Philadelphia. Was a bunch of us went our final year at the Kubert School. We got professional badges and thought we were cool. And
So you went to comic book college.
yes, I went to comic book college, the only college in the nation that is geared towards comic book illustration and animation, but started by a famous comic book artist, Joe Kubert. And it's all staffed and run by working comic book artists, professionals currently working in comics. And it was great.
Do you ever use a kneaded eraser or just the big pink block?
I usually just use the big pink block. Kneaded erasers are not quite as messy, but I feel like I have to sit there and work at it to erase. I do kind of tend to be ham-fisted, meaning I push pretty hard. So if I use a kneaded eraser, a lot of times it doesn't get much lead out of the grooves. All right,
So what are you erasing now?
I'm just lightly erasing the whole thing so that I'm going to go in, I can still see it, but I'm going to pick the lines that I want to be the final lines, so to speak. And a lot of these sketchy lines will just kind of fade into the background. So it just creates a more finished effect. In comic book art, there are stages of production, and what a lot of times happens is you have somebody who does the pencil portion, and then another person comes and inks them. So they'll come in and darken everything up and embellish it a little bit, and that's kind of what I'm simulating with this scenario. These are doing kind of, these darker pencil lines are serving the same purpose.
And what's more your jam, the pencil work or the inking?
Probably the pencil work. I do really like inking. There's something just kind of magical about making it look finished. And I remember I had never really inked anything before school, other than like going over stuff with maybe like a felt tip pen. But they taught us in school how to ink with a brush, and I immediately fell in love. Like, I was terrified of doing it at first because, you know, I was never as good at controlling a brush as a pencil. But once I kind of learned the feel of it, I realized it took so much less time to ink with a brush, and you could make things look a lot more organic. A lot of times with a micron pen or whatnot, the lines get really kind of stiff and the same thickness the whole way along, and that it makes it hard to like replicate organic things like people and such.
Do you ever use blue pencil?
I don't. So for people who don't know, a lot of artists will do what I did previously with the light sketching with a blue line pencil. And they do that because the blue lines don't show up on a photocopier. They're basically, they call it non-repro blue, so you can't reproduce it. And that allows them to do all their sketchy work. And then the final is all that shows up. Like if you do blue lines and then go over like I'm doing here, you could leave all that blue line stuff on here and nobody would know once it got replicated.
Do you think if you're sending your stuff for someone else to finish, say to ink, would they have a preference whether you use regular pencil or blue pencil?
They might. It does have a different texture, so I'm sure there are inkers that love and hate blue line or regular lead. I think that if you know, back in the day when people worked on comics together, the inker sometimes got hosed, or the penciler and the inker would have to work out who got which pages once they were finished to be able to sell at conventions or online or whatever, just to make extra income on the original art. But nowadays, you could literally send, like, if this was a pinup for a comic, I could send the digital file, like a high-res file, to whoever was going to ink it, and then they could print it out on Bristol board in non-repro blue and ink that one, and then we'd both have quote-unquote original pages to sell. Favorite thing to draw? Good gravy, that's loud. I don't know. I don't have a great attention span sometimes, so it fluctuates. I like figures, definitely, just as far as like a very broad category. I do a lot better with figures than, say, buildings or cars, animals, that sort of thing. But subject matter, fantasy stuff, I think I like the most. Fantasy and sci-fi, which is weird because I started out being super into comics, and drawing superhero stuff, while fun, it's not my go-to.
What character do you feel you have drawn the most?
That's a good question. The Thing, I think, or at least that's what I have the most like finished pieces of, like that I take to cons and sell. But I mean, I've definitely drawn a bunch of Wolverine, Boba Fett. And then as far as drawing, like for myself, that nobody else generally sees, just practicing or whatnot, Star Wars characters a lot of times, Captain America.
The Fantastic Four character or the Addams Family character?
Good question. The Fantastic Four character. I mean, technically, if you wanted to look at it from a certain point of view, the Thing from the Addams Family, because I've drawn 1,000,000 hands.
See, I was thinking the Kurt Russell movie, and I
Oh, yeah.
didn't quite get the question.
This is me fudging a moon that's close to a circle, but kind of not. Doing some craters and such. I just need some little pouches and stuff. Most enjoyable commission piece. Good questions, Micah. A guy I met online had me do a couple of different X-Men pieces that were a bunch of characters from a very specific era, like the John Byrne X-Men that people are probably super familiar with Wolverine, his brown outfit, and Nightcrawler and Colossus and Storm and Cyclops. So he had me basically said, I'd like to have these characters in these outfits and whatnot, and just do whatever you want to do. And then I had a lot of fun doing that because I penciled it and inked it, and then I did ink wash, where you just kind of dilute the ink to get different shades. And that was a lot of fun. And then he liked it so much, he asked me to do another one that was X-Men villains, kind of from the same era. And I think that was a lot of fun. It was during COVID, so I had lots of time to work on it.
Bob says he likes the eraser trick.
Yeah, it lets you basically start right off and not worry. Artists are weirdos, and we get real worked up about stuff. And one of the things that we get worked up about is it's not going to look right off. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people think that this is like a magical power that we have, but it's still a skill. And sometimes you're on and sometimes you're not. And if you start with something that is basically designed for you to not be able to be super tight with it, it kind of takes that right off your shoulders. You're like, well, what do I care? This is going to be a mess. I'm going to erase it anyway. And it just psychologically frees you up quite a bit. I think.
Adam says he still doesn't know who Daisy is.
Nice. I thought the same thing, Adam, and I missed the A, Daisy.
And it sounds like Autumn had a beautiful dog named Daisy. And Bob says that was Scott, but I understand there are a lot of cramps in this feed.
Mm.
Have you ever had anyone critique you while you were sketching for them?
Not like in a convention, although I've had, hilariously, I had one convention where this young man is probably 12-ish, and he had his own table. He was selling vintage toys and stuff, and we just happened to be placed near each other, and he kept asking for certain video game characters. And so I guess the closest thing to critiquing would be like, he'd be like, well, can you have him with this bandana from this section of the game or whatever? But it wasn't really are you sure that's how you want to do that kind of thing? There was a lot of that in school, though. A lot of critique, which is great, honestly. Critiquing is invaluable because we all tend to make the same mistakes over and over again. Our brains sort of compensate and say, well, that's just how I draw it. And until somebody comes at you and says, hey, that's lopsided, you don't know. You keep doing the same stuff. So as long as you can put your ego to the side a little bit, that's how we get better.
Looking pretty sweet, man. Is this about how finished your sketches get?
Yes, I was just about to say, it's not a normal Daisy. But
yeah, Adam is asking, is this a random made-up character? Adam, yeah, I think so. Autumn wanted to ask Jeff to draw her dog Daisy, and then her husband told her, no, you don't ask for that. So then she asked if it could be a witch, and someone said, how about a witch named Daisy? So, right, this isn't a particular witch. This
right,
is
yeah,
just a random,
just came out of my noodle just now. All right.
And Scott wants to know if he can draw like this now.
Only you can answer that, Scott. Okay, so now that we're basically at the end, what I'm gonna do is do the 20-sided die trick again, and then whoever guesses that number gets this sketch. So here we go. It has been rolled. Nobody yet? Nope. If enough time goes by, you guys can guess again. Yeah, Bob, it's still me, so not 20. Anybody else want to guess? Or guess again? Not 18. Still no dice. See, the smart play is just wait until it fills up with 90% of the numbers, and then we're dancing around it. Not yet.
Oh, Bob
There it
hit
is.
It was 10.
It was 10. You win, Bob. Congratulations. Yeah, well, if I was playing Torg, I would have rolled again, but
To get a 10.
well, when you play that game, if you get a 10, you get to roll an add-on. So there you have it. I think you're right. So maybe I'll do that.
Well, Bob,
See?
it's yours now, so Jeff will send it wherever you want
Right.
him to send it.
Yeah, I also have a face for radio, dude. Thanks. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. It's been fun. I hope it was fun for you.
Are you going to do this again?
Yeah, I think what I'll try to do is I think I'm going to shoot for Monday nights. This was kind of a fluke just because I needed to get one under my belt. So I'm going to shoot for Monday night at 8 o'clock, and I'll do the same thing. Thank you.
Thanks for showing up, everybody.
Yeah, I appreciate it. All right, have a good night, everybody.